feasibility and cost of providing a bus service between Turangi and Taupo. That was something that was brought up at the Turangi-Tongariro Community Board last meeting. There's also the total mobility scheme. So we understand that that's under review. Excuse me. And we just want to be involved in any discussions on that. There's also the review of the rural public transport services. And most of our services are considered rural, so we want to be part of that work as well. There's also the community safety points that we've made around resilient development. This primarily talks about the flood hazard information for Lake Taupo, but we've also made a point just about liquefaction, probably particularly around Turangi, in terms of some work being done down there. And we've also made some comments around air quality, primarily because, as you would have noted from the presentation, they're proposing to move basically all of the funding to the South Waikato. And so we've asked that they consider the funding for the program in Taupo, just so that we can basically keep going with the gains that we've made in regards to air quality. And that's that.
Okay, thank you, Uriel. Now, two things rise out of that. Councillor Henderson.
I've just got a couple of questions. First one's around transport connections. While I realise some of this may fall under NZTA, we've recently had the Waikato Bay Planning Manager down in Turangi with some of the staff for a workshop on some of the issues on the road south of here and in and around Turangi. The safety stuff does fall under WRC. So I guess one thing that was talked about was a corridor study, which I'm not sure exactly where that sits. Gareth might be able to enlighten us on that in terms of whether that's got anything to do with WRC, but also safety. We've got a bridge down there, which we've been trying to get a pedestrian access way on for a long time. So at least part of that surely has got to be driven by the safety issues to do with WRC. And the other thing is a blind corner and a high accident rate on State Highway 1 south of Turangi. So I'll just bring those points up because there's nothing mentioned in the submission here about any of those issues that were raised with the NZTA people when they came down, some of which, like I say, must cross over into safety with WRC.
Mr. Chairman, I think it does, but I don't know if the long-term plan is the right place, and I'm looking at Councillor Hickling thinking it's the committee that you sit on, being the Regional Land Transport Committee.
They've identified the area from Taupo to Turangi and Turangi to Three Sisters down through there. And I think it's in 13-14 they're going to do some surveys of those portions of road to try and come up with some other safety issues down through there. But there's nothing actually in the funding mechanism for those. It's only investigation at the moment. That's in the strategic plan.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of that. I'm just curious why we wouldn't submit on these issues.
Because it's not in the long-term plan, it's under the transportation plan.
So, because it's not in their plan, okay.
It's not, yeah.
Right, but road safety's in the plan, I gather, for the
The road safety is Environment Waikato.
Yeah, well that's the point I'm making, is that some of these issues at least cross over into road safety, so therefore they would be covered under the draft plan. So I'm just suggesting we perhaps could have considered submitting on it. Anyway, the second one I wanted to raise was under regional contribution to national bovine TB strategy. I see we've submitted that Council does not wish to see the funding used for the aerial application 1080. I'll just draw people's attention and point out, because some people weren't here for the recent AHB presentation, where I asked them a couple of questions along the lines of, without aerial application 1080, could you get the job done? And the answer that they gave was essentially no. So just to point out that we're in direct conflict with that point of view.
Okay, being nothing more, in terms of resolution, what we need to do now is decide if we put the submission in, do you want to speak to the submission? And if you want to speak to the submission, who do you want to attend the hearing to speak to the submission? Do you want the submission Ariel?
I just wanted to point out that the hearing times for the Waikato Regional Council submission are the same hearing times for our draft long-term plan. So it's just something to be
mindful.
mindful
There's no reason why I can't go and do it then, isn't there?
I'm just pointing that out, that's something to
yeah.
take into consideration when you're deciding who may go.
They're doing their submission process same time as ours, 14th, 18th May. Cool. So, sorry?
Oh, it's just a point that Councillor Henderson's raised. Regarding the funding used for aerial application of 1080, does this council actually support that at the moment?
Do we?
Yeah, because I don't. I don't. Put it like this, I support funding for aerial application of 1080.
But the council doesn't.
Well, I'm asking the question.
Well, we've been down the straight before. If you guys want to go and change the policy into workshops, you go, and et cetera, et cetera.
But I don't. Sorry.
Well, it's
Yeah,
only a resolution of council, which was 4 or 5 years ago.
Ariel's got a hand up, you got your hand up.
Just to recall, I don't think the policy sort of said about funding, so we could support funding. It just said we were, it was a different wording. I don't know if it mentioned the word funding, so like...
Enough headaches.
I just raised the question, that's all. Perhaps it could be worded a little bit better.
Can I just comment on this? The interesting point I find about it, just putting aside what our policy is or position on it is that we support the strategy, but these guys have said to us when they came here that essentially they need that to be able to implement the strategy. So we're submitting that we support the strategy, but we're saying we don't support the funding of the aerial application of 1080 to implement the strategy. So that's the disconnect.
Anything further? Okay, back to where I was. Do you want the submission put in person, or just put in what's your suggestion?
Your Worship, I'm still...
Do we change the wording?
I think it's almost better if we don't make any comments on the regional contribution to national bovine TB strategy, and we just lay silent on it. Personally.
To answer me, Rick? We basically could say we support the overall intent of the National Peace Strategy and the funding towards research of alternative methods. We don't have to make the first comment.
Exactly.
Where you're going.
Yeah.
We don't have to add a comment to that and throw salt into the fireplace.
Yeah.
Oh, Councillor Kirk has to go. She did say she had to go by 4 o'clock, so you're excused, Councillor Kirk.
That's all right. That's all right.
Go look after our new Taupo White, whatever it is.
I support the comments made about removing that from...
Yep. I'll remove that first part of the sentence and just say Council supports the overall intent of the strategy, especially the use of the funding toward research for alternative methods of eradication.
Just one comment is that really the regional council's LTP is around whether or not they actually raise funding for it. You could actually just take out the whole paragraph, because that's what the intent of this. It's not about the regional police, the national bovine TB strategy. It's about what the regional council does.
Shall I remove the whole paragraph or just change the sentence?
Remove from that.
Someone will answer my question sooner or later.
We're going to speak, that one. Ariel was going to add to about speaking, weren't you, Ariel?
What question?
Oh, that
You
was
want the
point about
submission put in
the conflict
and,
of the times.
you know, appear before them, or do you just want to send it in?
We should send someone to appear, but we have a conflict of times. As
I mean, I really don't care about the 10A thing. I've got my opinion. I'm sticking to it. It won't change. In fact, I've just been sent a whole lot of photos here of dead stuff today for some reason, and now they're saying they didn't do it, and they did do it, and it'll hit the paper again in the next couple of days, so I really don't care. You put what you like in it. What we need to know is, do you want the submission just sent in, or... Because I know what submissions are like to WRC, they're not going to listen anyway, so... But it's the act of dancing on the same dance floor.
can our deputy go?
Sorry?
Are you here?
Are you... Ms McLeod can present it if you wanted to. Is it, or does it have to be a council law?
I believe it is part of, it can be put into part of my job description, yes.
So would you like, I mean, drive up to Hamilton for a day to read this to them and then walk out again? Is that what you want, or...?
If council would like me to do that, I will.
That's what I'm asking the councillors.
I think we
Yep.
should do. I think we should do.
Yes, we need to be seen to be. We may not always agree, but
Okay, there's a resolution on page 12, bar 1, that, it's not present, and that Miss Anne McLeod attend the hearing to present the council's submission. I have a mover. Moved, Councillor Johnson, seconded, Councillor Mincher. All in favour?
Aye.
Okay, moving now to expert witness costs for district plan changes 28-23. And I see we have Nick and Helen here, so
I think
you've been abandoned.
Show today, Your Worship.
You've been abandoned, okay.
Good afternoon,
Well, I
Your
think-
Worship and Councillors.
Sorry.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and Councillors.
Afternoon, Nick. It's good to see you here, Mr. Carroll, but I'll just leave it as read because it